Hi there. We are ready for the next steps in putting together a flower hug. And all of this information is in my pattern, Flower Hugs for Walls and Table. It is PAD 145. That was what I couldn't remember the last time. Anyway, I have glued down with little dots of glue, and I showed those, I think, before. I've glued down the flower. I've taken little drops of glue and glued down the stem. And now I'm going to, and I've fused down these leaves. The leaves have fusible interfacing on the back. And I showed them the other day, but there's some up there too. Now then, it is ready to sandwich and be ready to quilt. So, usually when I am sandwiching a quilt, I cut my batting, slightly bigger than the finished whatever that I'm making. So, here's my batting. I don't know how big this thing is exactly, but my batting is slightly bigger. And notice when I put down the leaves and the flower, I have room at the bottom, I have a little room at the top, I have very little room on this side for this side. I have a little bit more room here. So oftentimes I trim up these. On this one, I'm not going to be able to trim too much over here. The rest I can trim, but I like to trim when I square them up so that they're a nice rectangle. The batting that I like to use is just cotton batting. This is Dream Cotton. If you want to use something a little fancier, you're welcome to. But the Dream Cotton it gives them little padding, but it doesn't make it really difficult to sew or anything. And then the next thing that I need is the back of the quilt. Well, the back of my flower hugs always has a nice little note on it. I'm going to show you. Here's the one that has a nice little note, and the note says, "Thinking of you, this wall hug has been made expressly for you to bring you a bit of joy and cheerfulness. Made by," and I put my name, and then I have a place for the date. But because I don't know when I may send this one, this is sort of a sample. I didn't have that date filled in. Notice how this has been pieced into the back of the wall hug. That's not difficult to do, and you can do it with other quilts also, but I thought I would explain or show you kind of how I do that. And also, of course, whatever you want to put on your label, that's certainly up to you. So, I'll tell you how I did that label. Generally, I have it printed on my computer, and then I take it from the computer and I print it on a piece of paper. Well, no, I print it on a piece of fabric. I have 2 on one page, so it's 8.5 by 11 piece of fabric. I put that fabric on a piece of freezer paper. When you're ready to put a label onto your fabric, it's not always the easiest thing for me to do, but I'll tell you how I do it, and you might be able to do it a whole lot easier than I do. There is freezer paper that I use, and I just use regular freezer paper. I stick it, or I iron it to the back of my fabric, and I don't have but I usually use like a muslin. So I will take a piece of muslin, iron a piece of freezer paper to it, and then run that through the printer using my computer. It has to be an inkjet printer, and I'll tell you, it's a little tricky, but I have learned through the process of elimination. I set my printer to photo paper draft, and then it has to be other photo mat papers, something like that. And it will print on the, actually print on the fabric. Here is one that I have printed and cut out. When I do this, often it will make two. So I have it so that I can make two copies on fabric. So what I have is a piece of fabric then that has two printed verses on them. I cut them apart so that I have, I think they're 5.5. I just cut them around so that there's enough room to make a seam allowance and all of that. And I can use one for this, and I could use one for this guy. Now this time I did this one, I did it on white. So it's just whatever you need to do, whatever fabric that you have. After you get your label printed out nicely, you don't have to do anything else. Just what I have to do then is figure out where I'm going to put it on the back of my quilt. For these quilts, I have already sort of measured down, and I measure down and cut a piece of matching fabric to be the top section, cut a piece to be the bottom section, and usually what I do is just get my backing. I think it's like 12.5 by 20, or no, it's bigger. It's 14.5 by 20, because I want it to be a little bit bigger on the back. And I just cut it in half, and then I use 1/2 for here, 1/2 for the bottom section. And then this is the section that has the words on it. So you can just cut a little section, and I think these are like 5.5 by, I don't know, 4 each, 2 rectangles. And I piece this to here, piece this to there. Then I have that middle section, top and bottom sewn on. Just sew them on and press them down. So now my whole back of the quilt is ready. I can't always guarantee where this will come. So if you have a specific location, you're gonna have to figure that out with a little piece of note paper or something. But for me, I know that it will come generally around the middle of the quilt, right about in here somewhere. So then I am ready to take this over and sandwich it all together. And I will do I will talk about that in a little bit. But there you go. That's how, if you want to do a label that's sewn into the back of your quilt, you can use your printer as long as it's an inkjet printer. Here's another label. I believe if you would like some of these labels, this is one that I got from a friend. It's a little longer and would use the whole page. But if you're interested in having one of those, let me know. I think I can send that out. Or it may even be somewhere in my stuff. But you take this, run it through your printer. You have to have a piece of your backing fabric on have the right side of the backing fabric out, if it's definite 2 sides. Have the freezer paper on the back, and then run it through your printer, and it will print on your fabric. And every printer is a little bit different, so check your printer as to do some trial runs on this, because just doing the printer business is sometimes a little tricky. But it makes a good backing for a quilt that you really want to have something specific in the label. So that's it for now.